Welcome to the Sports with Aliyah Talk Show. I'm super pumped for this episode because my producer Nathan is actually a guest on the show today, which I never thought you would want to come on the show. That's why I was never like, oh, you want to actually be a guest? So thanks for coming on.
This is crazy. I've been looking forward to it. A lot of people would think you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but this is going to be a good one. Just trust me.
Oh, God. Whenever you say trust me, I usually do, but now I'm kind of scared. So Nathan actually has some really exciting stuff coming up that we're going to talk about and promote, but I'm also going to ask him some fun questions about what it's like working with me, which I don't know if I want to ask those questions. But first of all, I guess give them a background of who you are and what you do.
So I'm Nathan Light. I am a Wichita State graduate, class of COVID-19, as they might say. And so, I majored in collaborative arts in the filmmaking department here at Shocker Studios, and it's a really great place. I got a lot of hands-on opportunity, and I'm glad that I am where I am, and I am hoping to get bigger in the future.
Yep, well, we always joke that I'm taking him with me if I have a show on a big network. We're a package deal because all of the camera work that you see is his, and the lighting and the sound and everything. So he's like the Andy to my Ellen, if you guys watch Ellen. So that's us. But so you've done a lot so far. So tell them about some of your pieces of work.
Okay, so, there's this talk show, obviously. Every episode is A1A. And one of my biggest projects was last year. It was a half-hour documentary about the making of the movie King Kung Fu, which was a slapstick comedy that was made in the 1970s. And so, I gathered a lot of the cast and crew members and interviewed them and had them talk about their experience, about the making of the film. Because, it is a very crazy movie, and, the backstory behind the making of the movie is as wild as the actual movie. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of fun to make, and I'm glad I made that. Those were good, first steps for, a big, massive project, which I had never done before. And so that was a lot of fun. And in terms of the distribution of that movie, it played at the Tallgrass Film Festival last year in 2019. And it also played at the Crown Uptown Theater in January. It was a little back-to-back double feature with the actual movie King Kung Fu, and that was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. It also played at a few film festivals around, it played at the Bison Film Festival in Oklahoma.
Wow.
In Ponca City, Oklahoma. It also was set to play at the 2020 Doc Sunback Film Festival, but now it got the entire slew of films selected for that this year of Doc Sunback was moved to next year.
Oh, geez.
And so, there was the King Kung Fu documentary that I made, Simeon Scope, The Making of King Kung Fu. And now I decided to move on to something even bigger, and I wanted to be more Wichita related. And so I decided to pursue, the History of Baseball documentary.
Yep, so that's a big reason of why he's here to talk about that. So it's actually a documentary about the history of baseball here in Wichita, and I have already seen it, even though it doesn't get released for a while, so I feel special, and it was absolutely amazing. And that's coming from me, who I'm not, as some people know, I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but I've been trying to get into baseball more, and I think that really helped knowing the history of the baseball here. So first, why did you want to make the history of baseball in Wichita? And then let's talk about how you went about it and people you've interviewed.
So after I made my King Kung Fu documentary, I was wondering the entire time afterwards, what is the next step? What's the next thing I should do in order to get even bigger and pursue a project that's even on a much wider scale even, while also not being super big for an independent film either. And so I remember I was having this conversation with my dad, and then I'm like, hey, Dad, what should I do next? Like, what's next on my filmography list? And so he's like, we started thinking about like big relevant news in Wichita, like keep it, non-political, just fun stuff,
Yeah.
And my dad was like, I'll tell you what, if you make a documentary about the history of all the baseball stadiums and baseball teams here in Wichita and the upcoming Wind Surge team, people will watch it. I'm like, that's a great idea. I love that. And so when we got that idea, I thought it was way too big scale for me to do. I thought I couldn't possibly get that made. But I put my mind to it and kept going, never gave up. I kept lots of persistence too. I kept asking people over and over again for advice and to help me out, and it all worked out at the end, and it's made.
Yeah, and very, very well made. And so just name drop a couple of the people that you did actually interview for the documentary.
So I got some historians, coaches, and alumni players from Wichita. So some of the historians I got were like Bob Rives. He wrote a book on the history of Wichita baseball. So this documentary is kind of like a movie adaptation of that book. And I read the book before I started production on this documentary, and it was very insightful. It was a great read. It was a very easy read too. And it got me ready, and it got me well informed on what to talk about exactly for my interviews. And so then I interviewed one of the professors here at Wichita State, Dr. John Dreifert. He was very well informed on the history of Kansas as well, so he gave a little bit of his insight on baseball. And then I interviewed one of the most well-known journalists in Wichita here is Bob Lutz.
Yeah.
And so, he gave some good insight on his experience reporting for a lot of the older teams here in Wichita. And then I got Nate Robertson, who was the owner of the Wichita Wingnuts, and he also has a bit of experience in the majors. And he's best known for creating what's known as like Chew Time. I think that's what it is. Or no, it was Gum Time. That's what it was called.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Fox Sports approached me about wearing a mic for a game during the Yankees series. I told them not to expect much flair. I was usually a pretty quiet guy during games, that I'd throw in a little rally chew for the fans. What happened after that? I still can't wrap my head around.
High drive hit well into left field. This ball
right
is
there, baby.
tagged.
Watch you,
Guerrero
baby.
back to the wall, and it is gone. A home run. A golden opportunity here for the ball club to get a couple of runs.
Come on, baby. Come on.
2 runs will score. It's a triple for Punch Rodriguez, and the Tigers are back in it.
Nice Gatorade tower. Hey, the only 2 times I put gum in, we scored all 4 runs.
I'd say those jaws full of gum didn't have an impact on the team's 5-run comeback.
Uh-oh, is he going for the gum?
Here you go.
Oh, he is. Check it out. He's 2 for 2 already. Why not?
I think I'm gonna be on this pitch. Yeah, it might be.
It is lined into right field. Makes it. Here comes Inch, the third base. They're going to send him home. He will score. Throw comes into second base.
Come on, Bardo! Here's the gum, see? You had to get the gum.
Yeah, where he had the mic on and he just like chewed a ton of gum.
Almost like ASMR.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was good. He gave me lots of good insight on the Wingnuts. And then I interviewed Kevin Hooper, who's one of the most well-known players on the Wingnuts. He was also the manager for that team. And currently he's the manager for the San Diego Padres, I believe.
Wow.
And he gave lots of good insight on his experience playing for the Wingnuts. And then one of the bigger people who I got was Alex Gordon. And the way I got him was he first of all, my cousin is he lives in Kansas City. He is very good personal friends with the announcer for the KC Royals,
Wow.
Ryan Lefebvre, I think that's how you pronounce it. And so he helped hook that up for me, and yeah, I was able to get him. I wasn't there for his interview. They had someone film it for me, so I've never met him yet, but I hope to eventually.
Yeah.
And then after that, I decided to add a little element of Wichita State baseball as well.
Yeah.
And so I got a few of the coaching staff for the Wichita State baseball team. It was Eric Wedge and Mike Pelfrey. Both of them have some pretty good experience in the majors, and yeah, they gave a lot of good information on their teams, the Wichita State baseball team as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so I know that you don't really have a release date yet, and honestly there's no need to rush it, but where can people honestly stay up to date, so when you do release it, where can they find it?
Okay, so right now I created a group page called Wichita Baseball Past, Present, and Future. Yeah, I'll be posting the documentary onto that group page. And it won't be like a link you'll have to click on YouTube. It'll just be the full video you can just click and watch on Facebook right there.
Wow.
And I also created a Instagram page just called Wichita Baseball. And yeah, I hope to get as big of an audience as possible, so this becomes like a super big thing once it's released at Wichita Baseball Instagram. Put a caption there.
Okay, I will. So yeah, I really want you guys to watch it and support Nathan because he is absolutely incredible. And the interview isn't over. We're gonna have some fun questions. So, but I just yeah, he's gonna drink out of his mug. Not a lot of my guests actually drink while we're on camera, so thanks for that. But we're gonna ask you some fun questions so you guys can get to know Nathan, because I think what I love, whenever I watch documentaries or people in media, I like to know the person behind it, and that's why I try so hard to get my followers to get to know me. So we're gonna get to know you and just see your personality a little bit more. So Nathan, first question, what did you think of the Wind Surge name? Because that was something that was very highly debated.
I like it. I think no matter what the name was going to be, people wouldn't like it. There's always going to be haters, and so I like the Wind and I like Surge, so I think it comes together very well. I think some people I don't know what they were expecting for the team name. All of the suggestions that they pitched out as well, all of those had some mixed reactions as well, and it's not the silliest name in the league either. I mean, the AA affiliate for the San Diego Padres is called the Sod Poodles.
Oh, yeah, I would not want to be a team named that, so. And honestly, I think the Surge sounds really cool. So I personally don't think it's bad. When I first heard it, I was like, what? But then it all came together.
Yeah, people called it the Farting Pegasus or whatever, and looked at the logo.
I know,
it's
people
great.
were coming after me for it, and I'm just like, I did not choose it. I'm a team influencer for the Wind Surge, but I'm like, I didn't choose the name, so take it up with someone else.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay, so growing up, did you always want to be what you're doing now, like a filmmaker, documentary maker, or did you want to be something else?
Yeah, when I was younger, I definitely had other things in mind. Hardly anybody grows up their entire childhood wanting to be the same thing. They always change their mind. I mean, when I was younger, I remember wanting to be an Air Force meteorologist, and then I can't remember what else I wanted to be exactly, but that was clearly one thing that I remember. And when I reached my preteens, I wanted to become a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But then I always viewed it as something that would never happen. It wouldn't be something that would be able to get me anywhere. And then I think by the end of high school, I really didn't take very many film classes at all, or classes that help you learn about equipment or editing. So
same.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it wasn't till by my senior year, I'm just you know what, just go for it. I want to do what I love to do, and not care about whether or not I live in a gold ring.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Okay, what is your biggest dream or goal?
Well, that's a funny story because when I was interviewed last November by the school about my King Kung Fu documentary. I said in the article that I wanted to break the record for the youngest person to win an Oscar for Best Cinematography. It's such a bizarrely specific goal, but it sounds doable.
Yeah.
The record is 31 years old.
Okay, so you have time.
Yeah, I've got
Plenty.
less than 10 years.
But that's still plenty of time.
Oh yeah,
so.
plenty of time. I could win next year maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much competition out these days because of the pandemic, and put something out there, you've at least got a shot.
Yeah, exactly. So speak it into existence is what I always say. So then, do you prefer like documentaries or actual movies and films?
Well, I kind of like both of them right now. I'm not sure which kind I mainly want to get into. It's kind of just wherever the wind decides to take me.
The wind surge decides.
Wherever the wind surge decides to take me. And then so I'm into documentaries, and specifically with narrative films, what I'm getting into is cinematography. I think if I were to work with the big boys, I'd want to be a cinematographer. The school did a school sitcom, and I was the director of photography for all 3 episodes that we did.
Wow.
And that was a great experience. I had never worked on that big of a production before. I was really scared at first, but by the end of it, like, it was a piece of cake. Like, I felt like I could go into the business, the actual business, and just kick some serious butt.
Yeah, you definitely can. So then what's the end goal of, like, where would you like to live? Is that like an LA type of place you'd want to live, or do you really think you can live anywhere and film anywhere?
I'm not sure exactly. I'd love to stay here, but I know there's more opportunity in LA.
Yeah.
I know that pretty much, yeah, if I were to stay here, it'd be harder to get your name out, but there is less competition. So it's kind of a pick your poison sort of.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if you were in LA, then you'd have plenty of opportunities, but there's just so much competition from all over the country.
Yeah, so maybe do a little bit of traveling, a little bit of both. So stay here, but travel there, and who knows?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, you're still young, so it's not like you have to make up your mind. So before we end, I do want to ask some questions that are related to this show, kind of, which makes me kind of nervous.
All right, fire away.
Okay, so who's been your favorite guest that we've had on the Sports with Aliyah Talk Show?
Definitely Joel, the manager for the Wichita Thunder. Yeah, he was really funny. He was very cocky, and he wasn't like, there was no sign that he was nervous in front of the camera at all or anything. Like, he even would like constantly talk over and ask you questions even. Yeah. And he was just so funny. I was wearing a Bad News Bears jersey, and he walked in and just started like calling me a bunch of names of the players from the Bad News Bears, like Lupus or Buttermaker or Ogilvy or Stein. Yeah. And yeah, he was a lot of fun.
It's definitely the East Coast mentality. It's different. It's just like a different like aura that East Coast people give off, and like my whole family East Coast, so I definitely related to him there. He was hilarious. Okay, so before we started working together, before you actually got to know me, what did you think I was going to be like? Did you think I was going to be a diva or what?
So it was just one day that I came into the studio, and like our old producer, I thought we were just going to do like a normal photo shoot or whatever, but then he told me like he was filming a little bit of a web show, like a sports talk web show, and then I didn't know about it when I came in, and he's just like, hey, you want to help out? I'm like, sure. And so I met you that time. So there was no like heads up. I just met you immediately, and yeah, you were a really great person. And yeah, and at first when we were doing all of this, I'm like, what is this exactly? I'm like, oh, this is a talk show. But once we got through the swing of it, I'm like, let's make this really big and just have this be our lives.
Have this be our lives. I love that. Okay, so what's something that I say like a lot to you when we're not recording?
You say thank you too much.
Too much?
Yeah, I mean, I have fun doing this. This is great experience for me as well.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I am getting paid in with this show is experience, and that's probably the most important thing. And so I have a lot of fun doing it as well. And then, so like, yeah, I help out, and it's great to help out. And yeah, I appreciate you saying thank you for all the hard work I put in. But then like, it gets to the point where I'm just like, all right, you already said that.
I know, I never want to make you feel like you're underappreciated though, because you're always working hard, but I feel like you can breathe and I'll be like, thanks, Nathan. Oh my gosh, see, I feel like you would roast me. That's why I was like so nervous, but wow. Yeah, so I guess last thing before we end up, what's been your favorite memory so far working on this show?
Well, obviously filming Joel.
Yeah, that was
And
fun.
I met some great people to connect with along the way. I met Marcus Tuggle. I just met some big names here in Wichita too. I mean, you've got some really great connections here that's helped me along the way as well, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we got to do this. Go like his page right now. Would you want to just plug your stuff one more time, or even your personal page, they can follow you?
Okay, so my personal Instagram is Nathan99Light. I'll stack it on top. My baseball page is Wichita Baseball.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, if you just want to follow my Facebook page as well, it's just Wichita Baseball, past, present, and future.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks for coming on. This was fun, and now I guess it's time to clean up the set. So thank you guys for watching. You can follow me at Funshell18 on everything, and Sports with Aliyah on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube page. Thanks.
That was great. I'm not going to lie.
That was so good.